Funding for Off 90 is provided in part by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.
Cruising your way next, Off 90. We talk to a dog handler from the Vietnam War. We meet an artist Renaissance man. Meet a woman who held on to her mother's apron strings. Plus, a live performance from an unlikely venue. That's the exit up ahead for our next stop, Off 90. Hi, I'm Barbara Keith. Thanks for joining me on this journey, Off 90. There were people who had never owned a dog, and there were people who didn't like dogs, but the Army made dog handlers out of the whole group. Alan Huseby was a sentry dog handler during the Vietnam War. Alan and his dog, Hans, used to walk the perimeter of a helicopter base each evening, looking for anything out of the ordinary. We talked with Alan about his experiences.
There's all types of people that serve, and I admire anyone who has served. I mean, you had people that never carried a weapon, that made our food and had us clothed and so on and so forth. And then there were the people that were out in the jungles and so on. And I was kind of in between, where I carried a weapon the whole time I was there, but I slept in a bunk every night and had normally 3 good meals a day. So I was kind of in between there. I was drafted in January 1967, right after graduating from Mankato State. I served 2 years. I was in Vietnam from December 1967 to December 1968, when I left for back in the world. I was an MP sentry dog handler, so basically I walked a dog every night while I was in Vietnam. I'm Alan Huseby. I'm a Vietnam vet. I went to MP school, and I think they tried to get a little bit older GI to go into the MPs for obvious reasons. And when we graduated, we knew there was a new company, the 981st MP company, forming up to be a dog company going to Vietnam, and a good share of our graduating class was chosen for that. We had people that never had dogs, we had people that didn't really like dogs, but they made dog handlers out of all of us. Actually, I had the first dog was named King, and dogs kenneled together like that would often come up with upper respiratory infections. So I lost my first dog to an upper respiratory infection. And then they try to recycle you with a dog that has about the same amount of training, and just had the URINs coming back. So I ended up with Hans, and he was a real good dog. Tried to bite me at first, but he was a good dog. It was hot, and it was smelly. I arrived in Cameron Bay and up in Pleiku, up in the Central Highlands. I was at Camp Holloway, which was initially, which was a helicopter base. Basically, it was perimeter work at night. We had 2 shifts. We had 6 o'clock to midnight, and then midnight to 6. Pleiku was kind of a hot spot, and we got hit a lot. I jotted down all the times we got hit or took fire out on the perimeter and that sort of thing. We had an ammo dump that was blowing up. There's just all sorts of action going on. We didn't have much downtime at first. We worked basically every night, but it wasn't just a 6-hour job with the dogs. It was taking care of them, feeding them, cleaning kennels, doing some training. So you had more than a 6-hour day. I was working the early shift in our ammo dump, and there's a swampy area down near the perimeter with tall elephant grass. And my dog just went crazy. He alerted, and he was jumping in the air, trying to get a better scent. And this was shortly after an ammo pad had blown. So I called our sergeant of the guard to see if it was okay, if it was cleared that I could go down there and check it out. And he called back and he said, wait, he said, I'll go down there with you. So he went down, and Hans just was going wild, but we couldn't get into the grass or anything. We knew something had to be there, but we didn't find anything. And the soldier that relieved me at midnight, I told him about that spot and to be careful down there. My dog was really alerting. So he went down, and his dog alerted. He stopped, and he was shot through the forearm. So there definitely was someone there. And the next morning, they burned off the grass. And I wish they would have had dog handlers in there to check it out real well first. Maybe we could have found a tunnel or something like that. And the other thing that's just very vivid in my mind happened right after that, when Pulver, who was shot in the arm, was in the hospital, and went to visit him. And it was just an open bay area, and you had soldiers with all sorts of injuries, some fairly minor and some really bad. And the thing I remember, and it just sticks in my mind, is that there was a young soldier kind of half sitting up in bed, completely naked, and he was sutured with, it looked like just a heavy red cord from his neck to his groin, basically. So I think he'd been in an APC, armored personnel carrier, that had been hit and was just really opened up. And he was just gray. And I thought, he's dead, and why don't they cover him up? I mean, he just, I didn't see how he was going to make it. And that's one thing that I can still picture to this day. And I hope he recovered. I guess when you go through a phase of history, you're always subject to what people think or know, or what they think they know during that time period. And of course, this was, fighting communism and helping the Vietnamese and everything. And as years go by, you get more information on what was actually going on, and it is kind of disappointing that we lost 58,000 killed and thousands more wounded, and are having to help veterans from that era through their lifetime, and all the costs of war, and we look back and think, was it necessary? Was the leadership and the generals telling the truth, or were they just trying to kind of cover things? Everyone keeps track of how many days they have left, and when you get down the last couple of months, you consider yourself a short timer, and you're marking off the days. And we went home a different way than we came over. We came over with our dogs loaded up in the plane with us, and we had men in jump seats filling up the plane. So you couldn't even get up and walk through there. It was so crowded. We had a commercial flight on the way home, and it went to Japan and then to Fort Lewis, Washington. So it was a good feeling.
Curmano is an award-winning artist adventurer. He was trained as a painter and sculptor. His more traditional objects have been exhibited both here and abroad. Billy X is also a performance artist. He's won awards for performance and film, as well as a solo CD. We caught up with Billy X to learn more about his unconventional take on art.
This is live art, 66 degrees, 33 minutes north, because we're going to the Arctic Circle and beyond.
Here's a piece about the Bible. What I wanted to do was create a Bible with a pop-up Jesus.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, we have splashdown.
Ah, there we go.
Don't worry about a thing. Trust it, Billy, trust it.
My name is Billy X. Curmano. I'm an artist. People wonder when you say artist, what kind of artist you are. As soon as you put labels on it, you're limiting yourself. This is one of my early paintings, and it's a spectral keyboard that's a basis of translation of, music to color and color to music. I work with whatever is necessary to bring my thoughts to fruition. And I have a degree in sculpture. I play music, make sound. What I'm mostly known for is performance art. I use that term in the broadest possible sense. This is my formal straitjacket for, when you've got that important engagement, but you think you might lose it, so you can put on your formal straitjacket and I was only kidding. Everything will be fine. My first performance has been called Kicks to Delight. And it was from within my mother's womb. And I followed that up a few months later with Live Birth, which was done at Milwaukee County General Hospital. I decided to throw the rule book out the window and just do things. But I started out doing a lot of drawing and painting and stuff like that. So as the performance started taking over, I didn't want to lose sight of the object. This is one of my seascapes. This is one of my small swimmers. This is actually carved from a clothespin. One of those is in the National Collection on the island nation of Malta. And this book is the Deface Billy Project. These are people from around the world that took the time to deface pictures of me. This is actually what I looked like a long time ago, because I think the artist is his own best model, and I can deface me without offending myself, and if I deface you, you might be offended. This is a pyramid that's going to be part of the Leaning Grotto of Watoka. I've always been somewhat impressed by obsessiveness in artists. And that's one of the reasons some of my projects started developing a duration, like being buried alive for 3 days, swimming the length of the Mississippi River over, I think it was 11 seasons, fasting in the Death Valley Desert for 42 days.
Oh, hi. Well, this is day 18. I'm still feeling pretty good, and the Sierra Nevadas are behind me, and we're up at Wild Rose where the pinyon nuts grow. So, all in all, things have been going pretty well, but I'm still hungry.
In this room, we call this, this is How Do You Sleep? The bed of nails is because I think we should relax to try and reduce our energy usage. Yeah, this is our blanket. And then there are Kevlar pajamas for sleeping, so you can try and get some comfort on the bed of nails. And if everybody took a nap for 1 hour a day, just imagine how much energy would be saved. Wetlands and wildlife clean our waters and clean our planet. So every day when I begin to swim, and to mark this landing at the Arch in St. Louis. Water is life, and we treat it callously. We do all sorts of things that threaten our water supplies. I'm greatly honored, and again, this could not have been done with so many people, and many of you are right here, so thank you. I'm honored by this. A lot of things bore me, and I was trying not to bore myself. I didn't mind if I bored other people. The work that I found most exciting was the work of people that was breaking from some sort of tradition and starting a new path. And I hoped I could be a part of that. I think when I start on a project, I've developed an itch of some sort to cure something that's either within me or outside of me. This is the impervious flag. It's, well, I did it in 1970. It's copper, steel, and aluminum. And I created it because there's oftentimes talk of adding an amendment to the Constitution to protect the flag. And I think if you have a really good flag, you don't have to worry about protecting it.
This is greetings from the Mississippi River to the Arctic Sea. It's a real beautiful feeling. I drift in and out of the current, and I just kind of look over the water surface. I can see the ripples, I can get a feel of the pull, and I swim myself into the current and then take off. And I'm sure that must be what a bird in flight feels like.
I have no false hopes of being remembered for all time by all people. That's just silly. I know that I'm the world's greatest living artist, but of course, that's with my tongue planted firmly in my cheek.
Yvonne Cory collects aprons. She feels that aprons display a variety of art techniques that are all very intriguing. Since her childhood, Yvonne watched her mother sew cotton aprons. These garments have a deep meaning to her. Remaining family aprons from past generations, plain and fancy, have a place in her collection, and she shares their stories frequently.
If this is the last chapter of life, it's the best. However, I'm hoping that I can write many more chapters. I'm Yvonne Cory, and I am a collector and a curator and a designer of mini aprons. Aprons have so much history. I never realized it until I started collecting. My mother was a seamstress and sewed everything possible for the family. And I would sit on a little footstool and watch her sew. And I finally was able to start sewing when she felt that I was capable of using her sewing machine. I have a strong textile background, being a family and consumer science teacher. And that was always my strong area. I loved teaching kids about fabrics and sewing and the quality and so forth. But as I've gotten now with aprons, there is so much involved. What's going on in the country, what's happening with the culture of the people, and of course, all the art. Aprons contain a huge amount of art. The purpose behind this collection of aprons is that I want to share them. I don't want them just sitting in a tote on a shelf. I want to be able to get out and share them with people because they contain so many memories. I share my programs with people of historical societies, county fairs. I go into schools, church groups, long-term care facilities, whoever wants a program about aprons. I'm happy to do it. It's got little pockets to go put the eggs in. Do you want me to go get an egg? I have one design that people are very much intrigued with, and it fits well. For me, I've named it My Mother Clara, because it is my mother's apron. My mother always wore pretty much the same style, and I have just taken that apron and done many different things with it. Grandmother Mary I always remember her wearing this apron out in the chicken barn. Aprons from loved ones can really tell a lot of different stories. Not only as we think about, food preparation, but also sometimes the choice of the apron says a lot about who they were. Maybe it was because they made it, or maybe it was just because they selected it. Either way, there's something about it. There have been many times when I've ironed an apron that I found something that I'd never discovered. It's been fascinating. This particular gingham set was given at Showers. This is the pantaloon for the bride, the boxer for the groom. My series of aprons is called Joys and Tears and the Apron Strings. And I have one apron that I really used to develop that name. And it was such a joy to find it. And then once I had it and did a lot of research with it, I found out what it really was all about and what it contained. And as looking at it, it has holes in it, and some hand of an individual wove a thread while darning it or mending it to make it look like you can almost not see the hole anymore. And so upon looking at that, the joy of having the apron and the tears with the holes but being mended, so I came up with Joys and Tears in the apron strings. My new designs for my boutique, I have some already made, but however, I do have people that want them ordered as well. Matter of fact, I've got people that have asked, can you make something out of like somebody's old dress or old shirt or something? Because I love working with vintage linens in my new designs. That's one of my trademarks. Well, this is an apron that was worn back when the tea rooms were popular in the 20s and 30s. I've got a lot of research that I've done about different aprons, and I learned about a wedding apron. And I have made some wedding aprons in my life, and I have some remnants left, and that's kind of where it started. Matter of fact, there are 4 wedding dresses that I used to make that particular apron, along with a lot of vintage linen. My collection is all documented. Every apron in my vintage collection has a number, and it's described. And also, upon my leaving this earth, my wish is that my collection will never be divided, that it'll always stay a collection. Aprons bring out so many memories, but what I ask people to do is just to write down something about an apron or something that's very special to them now, and tuck it in a place. For an apron, put it in the pocket, but put it somewhere for the next generation can hold these memories as well. As I always say, there's only one apron, and that's yours, because there'll never be another one like it.
Hair of the Dog is a musical collective based out of Rochester. This eclectic group of musicians has been a longtime fixture on the local scene. They found themselves bandless and looking for new people to play with, and discovered through playing together that the blend of their individual styles made for a very interesting sound. We caught a live performance from Hair of the Dog at Fox and Fern Floral in Rochester. We've reached the end of this episode's tour Off 90. Thanks for riding along. See you next time, somewhere off 90.
Funding for Off 90 is provided in part by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.